The sizzle of burgers on the grill drowned out the laughter until Uncle John's hand clamped my shoulder like a vice, yanking me behind the garage where the summer air hung thick with secrets. "Alex, you think Joshua's straight as an arrow? Boy, I've seen the way he looks at you." Like his old man looked at me. His whiskey breath hit me first. Then the words, slicing through the humid Ohio evening like a switchblade, leaving me gasping as the family chatter faded into a distant roar. I stumbled back against the peeling siding of the old detached garage, my flip-flops catching on a root that snaked through the crabgrass like a vein. Joshua's face flashed in my mind, those easy grins at our weekend hikes in the Cuyahoga Valley, the way his hand lingered too long on my knee during late-night Xbox marathons in his basement. We'd been best friends since freshman year at Kent State, bonded over craft IPAs and shitty poetry slams, but never crossed that line. Or so I'd told myself. Now, Uncle John, Joshua's gruff, flannel-wearing uncle who'd always treated me like the stray pup I was, leaned in closer, his eyes bloodshot from one too many Millers, and dropped the bomb that would unravel everything. "Last summer, when you two disappeared into the woods after that bonfire, I followed. Saw it all. Joshua's lips on yours, tentative as hell, like he was testing fate. And you, kid, you kissed back like it was oxygen." My stomach lurched. The memory flooded back unbidden. The crackle of fireflies, the taste of cheap bourbon on his tongue, the panic that followed when he pulled away, muttering about it being just the beer talking. I'd buried it deep, convinced it was a fluke, a straight guy's experiment. But John wasn't done. He ain't told a soul. Not his ma, not me, not even himself, really. But I know the truth. Alex, Joshua's gay as they come, just like his daddy was. And if you don't step up, that boy's gonna marry that girl from the bank just to bury it all. The backyard barbecue sprawled out like a Norman Rockwell painting gone slightly off-kilter. Red checkered tablecloths flapping in the breeze off Lake Erie. Aunts in floral sundresses passing deviled eggs. Cousins chasing each other with squirt guns under the watchful eye of Joshua's mom, Linda, who manned the potato salad like a general. It was the kind of gathering that screamed Midwestern normalcy. Flags waving from the porch, a cooler stuffed with bush lights, and a playlist of Springsteen anthems blaring from a Bluetooth speaker. Joshua's family had invited me every year since I was 19, folding me into their fold after my own folks bailed for Florida and a fresh start sans their disappointing queer kid. I'd come out to them at 17, a messy explosion of tears and slammed doors. But here I was just Alex, the reliable sidekick who fixed the Wi-Fi and charmed the grandparents. Joshua waved me over from the cornhole game, his broad shoulders flexing under a faded Cleveland Browns tee, that dimpled smile hitting me like a gut punch. 25 now, with a job in graphic design that kept him sketching logos for local breweries. He looked every bit the all-American dream, tall, sandy-haired, with laugh lines already etching his green eyes from too many pickup basketball games at the rec center. "Dude, you zoning out again? Grab a paddle. I'm crushing Mikey here." His little brother, all of 12 and gap-toothed, rolled his eyes but handed over the beanbag with a grin. I forced a laugh, the weight of John's words pressing on my chest like a cinder block. "Yeah, man, just heat's getting to me." We tossed bags back and forth, the thunk-thunk rhythm a temporary trance. But my eyes kept drifting to the garage, where John nursed his beer in the shadows, his gaze flicking between us like a hawk. What else had he seen? What other ghosts was he dredging up? As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in bruised purples, Linda called everyone to eat. We loaded plates with ribs slathered in sweet baby rays, coleslaw tangy with vinegar, and ears of corn buttered to glistening. Joshua plopped down beside me on the picnic bench, his thigh brushing mine under the table, a casual accident that sent sparks up my spine. "Remember that time we tried to grill hot dogs over a campfire and set your sleeping bag on fire?" he whispered, elbowing me, his voice warm with that shared history that felt increasingly like a minefield. I nodded, swallowing a lump that had nothing to do with the pulled pork. "How could I forget? You blamed the raccoons." Laughter bubbled up, real for a moment, but John's revelation gnawed at me. Joshua's daddy, Big Josh, everyone called him, had died 5 years back in a car wreck on I-71, coming home from a steel mill shift in Youngstown. Clean-cut veteran, church deacon, the works. If John was telling the truth, God, the layers of it. Lies stacked like cordwood, ready to ignite. After plates were cleared, the ants roped us into a raucous game of charades. Joshua drew the Godfather, flailing dramatically with an invisible horse head, and I howled until my sides ached, pretending the ache in my heart was just from the hilarity. But as the sky darkened and fireflies winked on, John cornered me again by the dessert table, where pies oozed cherry filling onto paper plates. "You gonna let him drown in this charade? Alex, I loved his father once. Deep, forbidden love that ate us alive. Don't make the same mistake." His voice cracked on the last word, and suddenly John wasn't the stoic uncle anymore. He was a man hollowed out by decades of silence. What do you mean? Loved? I stammered, pie forgotten in my hand. John glanced over his shoulder at the group, now swaying to Born to Run under the string lights. Big Josh and me. We grew up together in this town. Same as you and Joshua. Nam vets. Back when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was just how we breathed. One night in the barracks, it happened. And it kept happening. Stolen moments in foxholes and motel rooms off the interstate. When he met Linda, married her, had the boys. I thought it'd end. But it didn't. Not really. Until the guilt got him, drinking too much, driving too fast. That wreck wasn't just bad luck, kid. It was running from himself. The pie slipped from my fingers, splattering red across the grass like blood. John's face twisted, regret carving deeper lines around his mouth. Joshua knows bits of it. Overheard fights. Found letters I sent after Josh died. But he don't know the half. And you're the first person he's looked at like that since. Don't betray him by staying silent. Betray him? The word stuck like a thorn. I'd spent years betraying myself, shoving down the want that bloomed every time Joshua slung an arm around my shoulders or crashed on my couch after a bad date with whatever girl he swiped right on. Emily from the bank was the latest. A sweet brunette with a yoga habit and zero clue about the posters of indie bands and civil rights icons plastering his apartment walls. They were serious, he'd said last week over tacos at our favorite spot in Akron. Serious enough for wedding bells. Apparently. I slipped away from the party, mumbling about a headache, and drove the winding back roads home to my cramped studio above a laundromat in Kent. The radio hummed low with NPR's All Things Considered, stories of queer icons marching in 80s San Francisco parades, but it all blurred into static. John's words looped, just like his old man looked at me. Joshua. Gay. That kiss. The what-ifs piled up like snowdrifts. By midnight, my phone buzzed. Joshua. Of course. Hey, you bailed early. Everything cool? Mom's pie was killer. I stared at the screen, thumbs hovering. Type the truth? John told me everything. The kiss. Your dad. Us. Delete. Instead, yeah, just beat. Catch you for coffee tomorrow? His reply, bet. 9 a.m. Brood awakening. Don't flake. Loser. I didn't sleep. Dawn crept in gray and unforgiving, the kind of Ohio morning where the air smells like wet leaves and possibility. Brood awakening was our spot. A cozy hole in the wall with mismatched mugs and baristas who knew our orders. Black coffee for him, oat milk latte for me. Joshua was already there when I arrived, sprawled in our corner booth with the Sunday plain dealer spread out, looking unfairly handsome in a Henley that hugged his chest. Morning. Sunshine. He teased, sliding my cup over. You look like you wrestled a ghost. Close enough. We bantered about the barbecue, Uncle John's epic fail at horseshoes, Cousin Sarah's new baby pics, but the air crackled with unspoken weight. Finally, as he stirred sugar into his coffee, I blurted, John pulled me aside last night. Joshua's spoon clattered. Yeah, the old man's got a mouth on him after a few. What did he say? I met his eyes, those green depths I drowned in 1,000 times. About last summer. The bonfire. The woods. Color drained from his face. Mug forgotten. Alex. He thinks you're like your dad. I pressed, voice low to dodge the eavesdropping grad students nearby. That you need to stop pretending. Joshua's jaw tightened, fingers drumming the table, a tell I'd learned years ago meant panic. Pretending? What the hell does that mean? John's half in the bag half the time. Ignore him, but I couldn't. He told me about you and me. The kiss. Said he saw us. The booth felt too small, the world shrinking to his averted gaze, the steam curling from our cups like question marks. It was nothing, he muttered, but his voice wavered. A mistake. We're bros, Alex. Always have been. The word bros landed like a slap. I leaned in, heart hammering. Is it? Because I've been in love with you since that stupid poetry class. Joshua. Since you read that Walt Whitman piece and made I Sing the Body Electric feel like a goddamn prophecy. And last summer, that wasn't nothing to me. Silence stretched, taut as a bowstring. Then, soft as a confession. Shit, Alex. I feel it too. But Emily's safe. I cut in, the bitterness sharp. She's the picket fence, the 2.5 kids, the lie you tell yourself so you don't end up like your dad. His eyes flashed. Anger, fear, something raw and unguarded. Don't you dare. You don't know what it's like, carrying that. Finding those letters in the attic after the funeral. Dad begging John to make it stop, like loving a man was a disease. I can't. I won't. He trailed off, shoving back from the table, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. I need air, and he was gone, bell jingling behind him, leaving me with cooling coffee and a heart in freefall. The next weeks blurred into a haze of avoidance. Texts went unanswered. Our group hikes with mutual friends turned awkward, Joshua showing up late or bailing with excuses about deadlines. I threw myself into my adjunct gig at the community college, lecturing on American Lit to bored freshmen, quoting Baldwin on the fire next time while my own flames guttered low. Nights, I'd scroll Grindr, swiping left on every profile that echoed Joshua's build, hating myself for the weakness. Then came the save-the-date card, slipped under my door like a grenade. Joshua and Emily. July 20th. Cleveland Botanical Gardens. My hands shook as I tore it in half, shards fluttering to the floor like confetti from a funeral. I drove to John's that afternoon, a squat ranch house on the edge of town, the yard overgrown with heirloom tomatoes and rusted lawn chairs. He was in the garage, tinkering with an old Harley, grease up to his elbows. "Knew you'd come," he said without looking up, wiping his hands on a rag. Boy's stubborn as his father. "Tell me everything," I demanded, leaning against the workbench. "No bullshit," John sighed, sinking onto a milk crate, the story spilling out like oil from a cracked engine. He and Big Josh had been lovers since high school, stolen kisses in the bleachers during Friday night lights, full nights in the back of a '72 Chevy when they could steal away from prying eyes. The war hardened them, but didn't break the bond. Letters smuggled in foxholes, reunions in Saigon bars that ended in tangled sheets. Back stateside, Josh caved to pressure. The family name, the mill job, Linda's expectant eyes. But the affair reignited at every family gathering, a spark to dry tinder. "Last time was 2 weeks before the crash," John said, voice gravel. "We met at the motel off Route 8. He said it was goodbye for the boys' sake. But I saw it in his eyes, the war inside. Drove off that bridge chasing peace he couldn't find. Tears tracked through the grime on his cheeks. Joshua found my letters after. Confronted me last Christmas. Said he hated me for ruining his dad. But kid, I see the same hunger in him. For you." I left with a manila envelope, Josh's letters to John, brittle pages yellowed with time. That night, I read them by lamplight. My body aches for yours under this Ohio sky, but the chains of expectation bind me tighter than any jungle vine. Whitman echoes, "Raw please, a love as vast as the heartland itself." The wedding loomed like a storm front. I debated crashing it, spilling the truth in the aisle like a bad rom-com. But humanism won out. Joshua deserved his choice, even if it gutted me. Instead, I showed up at the rehearsal dinner, uninvited but unavoidable, nursing a ginger ale at the bar of the country club overlooking the Cuyahoga River. Joshua spotted me across the room, tux half-buttoned, tie askew. He crossed the polished oak floor, guests murmuring in his wake. Emily's sorority sisters, his aunts with their pearl clutches. "What are you doing here?" he hissed. But his eyes betrayed the pull, that magnetic grief. "Couldn't stay away," I said simply, sliding the envelope across the bar. "Read them. Then decide." He snatched it, fingers brushing mine, a spark that lit the dry grass of our history. "Alex, this is insane. I'm getting married tomorrow. Is this what you want? Or is it what they expect?" I gestured to the room, the forced smiles, the toasts already bubbling with champagne. "Your dad tried that. Look where it led." Joshua's face crumpled, the envelope crumpling in his fist. "I can't hurt her. Or Mom. Or, God, myself." "Then don't," I whispered, stepping close enough to smell his cologne, cedar and regret. "Choose you. Choose us." He pulled back, storming toward the patio doors, but not before I saw the crack, the fissure in the facade. I followed into the night air, crickets chirping a frantic chorus, the river murmuring below like a confessor. On the stone balcony, he whirled. "You think it's that easy?" I've got a life mapped out, house in the suburbs, kids' soccer games, the American dream. Gay? In this town, I'd be the punchline at every VFW meeting. And straight, I shot back, voice rising with the wind off the water. Pretending forever? That's the real punchline. Joshua. It's killing you slow. He paced, envelope clutched like a lifeline, then stopped, unfolding a page under the sodium glow of a lamp. His lips moved silently, tracing his father's words. If I could trade this secret for one honest breath beside you. A sob escaped him, raw and unfiltered. He was so miserable. Alex. I found his journal once, entries about wanting to come out, then crossing them out. The drinking started after John left for good. If I do this, what if I end up the same? I closed the distance, cupping his face, stubble rough under my palms, tears hot on his cheeks. You won't. Because you've got me. And this time, we fight together. Our kiss was no tentative brush in the woods. It was a collision, desperate, devouring, years of pent-up longing pouring out under the stars. His hands fisted in my shirt, pulling me closer, the world narrowing to the press of his body, the salt of his tears mingling with mine. When we broke, gasping, he pressed his forehead to mine. I can't marry her. It's not fair to anyone. Relief crashed over me, mingled with terror. What now? Joshua straightened, resolve hardening his features like steel in a forge. Now, I tell the truth. The fallout was biblical. Joshua cornered Emily in the bridal suite at dawn, words tumbling out in a torrent. The kiss, the love, the letters. She slapped him, they said later, the crack echoing like Judgment Day, then sobbed into her maid of honor's arms as the florist wilted in confusion. Linda arrived in a bathrobe, piecing it together from the shards, her face paling as Joshua laid bare the family skeletons. Dad's affair, the hidden loves, the crash that wasn't just fate. John showed up too, summoned by a frantic call, and for the first time in decades, the three of them, Linda, John, Joshua, sat in the garden's gazebo, unraveling the tapestry of lies. I waited in the parking lot, chain-smoking camels I hadn't touched since college, until Joshua emerged, arm linked with his mother's, John trailing like a penitent. She gets it, Joshua said, voice hoarse but steady. Hurts like hell, but she gets it, said Dad, always seemed half gone, like he was living someone else's life. Linda hugged me then, fierce and fleeting, whispering, take care of my boy, Alex. He deserves the whole sky, not shadows. The wedding was canceled. Guests turned away with awkward emails about personal matters. Emily's family shooting venomous glares at the reception hall. But in the quiet that followed, something bloomed. Joshua moved into my studio temporarily, our nights a tangle of tentative touches and deep dives into therapy sessions at the local LGBTQ center in Akron. We hiked the valley trails again, hands clasped openly, fireflies witnesses to kisses that no longer fled from light. Betrayal lingered, a scar tissue ache, Joshua's guilt over Emily, my fear of the town's whispers, John's quiet atonement through AA meetings and mending fences with Linda over coffee at the diner. But humanism won the day, forgiveness in small acts, like Joshua inscribing a Whitman volume for me, for the body electric, and the soul that sings it, or John joining us for Pride in Cleveland, rainbow flag draped over shoulders that once carried only shame. One autumn evening, 6 months on, we stood on the same balcony where it all broke open, leaves swirling like confetti in the river breeze. Joshua slipped a ring on my finger, simple titanium, engraved with "I sing the body electric," and dropped to one knee, not in proposal but promise. "Marry me, Alex," not to hide, but to claim. Every messy, beautiful inch. Tears blurred the skyline, but I pulled him up, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of forever. In America, the Heartland heartbreaker, we'd carved our space, not perfect, but profoundly ours. The shocking secret? It wasn't the end. It was the spark. The ring caught the first rays of a hesitant spring sun, glinting like a dare on my finger as Joshua and I navigated the gravel drive to his family's old Victorian in Hudson. It had been his grandparents', passed down after Grandma Ruth's passing, and now, with wedding plans whispering in the wind, we'd decided to make it ours, a fixer-upper with creaky floors and ghosts in the attic that felt less haunting than hopeful. "Think we can exorcise the drama with some Benjamin Moore?" Joshua quipped, hefting a box of paint samples from the truck bed, his flannel rolled to elbows that flexed with easy strength. I laughed, the sound lighter than it had been in months. But a shadow flickered, Emily's last email, polite venom wrapped in closure. "I hope you choke on your truth." Betrayals echo, faint but persistent. "As long as it's not that go-doffel eggshell from your old apartment." I shot back, bumping his hip with mine. Our banter was the glue now, mending cracks we'd only begun to map. Inside, the house breathed history. Dust motes dancing in sunbeams through leaded glass, the scent of aged oak mingling with the faint must of unpacked boxes. We'd spent the weekend hauling furniture from IKEA runs in Beechwood, collapsing into thrift store sleeping bags amid the chaos, making love on floors that echoed with the footsteps of generations. It was romantic in its rawness, no silk sheets, just us, sweat slick and whispering promises against collarbones. But romance has teeth. Monday brought the first bite. A call from Joshua's boss at the design firm, voice clipped over speakerphone as we sipped coffee on the warped porch. "Joshua, Emily's family's got pull, her dad's on the chamber board. Word's out about the situation. Clients are jittery. Take a week. Sort your head." Joshua's mug hit the rail with a clunk, coffee sloshing dark as his mood. "A week? For being honest, this is Cleveland, not some Bible Belt backwater." I squeezed his knee, the denim warm under my palm. "It's temporary. You're the best damn designer they have. Logos that pop like fireworks." He deflated, rubbing his temples. "What if it's not? What if coming out tanks everything? Dad's ghost is laughing. Told you so, son. Play the game." That night, as rain lashed the windows like accusations, we fought our first real fight as fiancés. It started small, me suggesting freelance gigs, him snapping about charity cases, escalating to the heart. "You get to be the hero, Alex." The out and proud professor with tenure whispers. Me? I'm the jilted groom turned freak show. I recoiled, words sharp as shattered glass. Hero? I've lost friends. Family holidays. Hell, my own dad calls me confused in Christmas cards. This isn't a solo act, Joshua. We're in the shit together. He stormed to the attic, that forbidden space we joked about colonizing as an office, slamming the pull-down stairs behind him. I followed after an hour of pacing the kitchen, heart pounding like a war drum. The attic was a time capsule, trunks of yellowed linens, a hope chest spilling sepia photos of Big Josh in his army greens, arms slung around a younger John, grins wide and unknowing. Joshua sat cross-legged amid the dust, a leather journal open in his lap, his father's, unearthed during the move. "Listen to this," he said, voice thick, not meeting my eyes. March 15th, 1982. John's touch lingers like smoke. If only I could tell Linda, the boys someday. But the world would burn us at the stake. I sank beside him, the floorboards groaning sympathy. He wanted more. Just like you. Joshua's fingers traced faded ink. But he didn't get it. Died with the secret choking him. He turned then, eyes fierce with vulnerability. I don't want that for us. But God, Alex, the fear, it's bone deep. We made up there, among the relics, kisses slow and searching, bodies mapping forgiveness in the dim glow of a bare bulb. It was emotional alchemy, turning pain to intimacy, the attic our confessional. Afterward, tangled in an old quilt that smelled of lavender sachet, he murmured, "Let's invite John to the wedding. Make it whole." The idea lodged like a seed. John, the catalyst, the living bridge to the past. I texted him at dawn. "Dinner soon? Attic treasures and truths." His reply, "Count me in, boys. Time to lay some ghosts." We chose a Friday. The Victorian's dining room transformed with thrift candles and a roast chicken from Heinen's. The air rich with rosemary and redemption. John arrived in his best button-down, hair combed, a bottle of Cabernet tucked under arm like an olive branch. "Smells like my ma's kitchen," he grunted, but his eyes softened as Joshua pulled out chairs. Over plates, the talk flowed cautious at first, work woes, weather, that endless Ohio gray lifting to blue skies, then deeper currents. Joshua slid the journal across the oak table. "Found this. Your name's in it more than Mom's." John's fork paused midair, color rising like tide. "Yeah? What did the fool say?" "Truths," Joshua replied, voice steady. "About loving you. Hiding it. Regretting it." John uncorked the wine with trembling hands, pouring measures that glowed ruby in crystal tumblers. "Regret's a thief. Steals the good with the bad. Your dad. We were fire and gasoline, kid. Burned bright, but scorched everything. After Nam, I tried settling. Married a girl from the mill. Had a daughter. Lasted 5 years, till the lies piled too high. Divorced. Moved back here to watch over you boys from afar. Closest I got to family." Joshua leaned forward, the candlelight carving shadows on his face. "Why didn't you fight for him? For us to know?" John's laugh was bitter bark. "Fight? In 75? Gays were the enemy, draft dodgers. Perverts. Josh had the wife, the job, the facade. I was the sidecar, not the ride. But I loved him fierce. Joshua. Still do. In the quiet, the admission hung, heavy as humidity before a storm. I reached for Joshua's hand under the table, our fingers lacing a silent anchor. "And now," Joshua pressed. "You and Mom. You're talking." John nodded, swirling his glass. "Coffee dates at the diner. She's tough. Your ma steel magnolia. They call it down south. But up here it's just Hudson grit. Forgives. Mostly. Says she suspected. Saw the distance in his eyes. Blames herself for pushing the marriage." Tears welled in Joshua's eyes. Unashamed. "I almost did the same. with Emily. Thought it'd erase the want. John clapped his shoulder. Grip firm. But you didn't. That's the win, son. And Alex here, he's your North Star. Don't let fear dim it. We toasted then to ghosts laid bare, to loves reclaimed. The evening stretched, stories unfurling like ribbons. John's wild, nom tales, censored for tenderness. My coming out war stories from a conservative campus. Joshua's quiet admissions of swiping on guys in secret before me. Laughter wove through the grief, humanistic threads binding us. As John left, hugging us both on the porch, proud of you, boys. Make this house sing. Joshua turned to me, eyes shining. That felt right. Like closing a circle. We climbed to the attic that night, not for passion but peace, sorting photos into albums. Big Josh and John, young and unscarred. Joshua as a toddler, gap-toothed grin oblivious to shadows. One snapshot stopped us. A faded Polaroid of two men on a lakeside dock, arms around each other, wind-tousling hair. Them, Joshua breathed. Happy. For a moment, I kissed his temple. Us too. More than moments. Spring deepened. The house awakening with us. Walls painted sage green. A garden plot tilled for tomatoes like John's. Joshua landed freelance work. Bold designs for queer-owned cafes in Cleveland's Tremont. His portfolio blooming online with hashtags like Out and Proud. I guest lectured on queer lit at a high school in Akron. Baldwin and Wolf side by side. Faces in the front row lighting with recognition. But conflict simmers. Emily's brother cornered Joshua at a gas station off I-77. Fists clenched. You broke her, man. Ruined the family name. No punches thrown. But bruises lingered, doubt. The town's side eyes at the grocery co-op. One night, after a homophobic slur scrawled on our mailbox, Joshua shattered. What if we leave? California, New York, somewhere the air doesn't reek of judgment. I held him as sobs racked his frame. Rain pattering the tin roof like Morse code regret. This is home, Joshua. Our fights here, in the heartland, where it hurts most. Change starts in the cracks, not escapes. He quieted. Breath evening. Whitman said it. I am large. I contain multitudes. Guess we do too. Climax brewed that July 4th. The air electric with firework promise. The town square in Hudson buzzed. Booths slinging funnel cakes. Kids waving sparklers. The symphony shell thumping patriotic marches. We'd planned a low-key picnic, but John texted, bring the flag. Time to wave it proud. We arrived with a rainbow banner fluttering from the truck's antenna. Joshua's hand tight in mine. Whispers rippled. Old mill buddies averting eyes. Linda beaming from her lawn chair with Mikey, who waved a sparkler like a scepter. Emily's family was there too. Her dad grilling brats at a pavilion. Glare sharp as skewers. It escalated fast. A drunk uncle, distant kin, red-faced from natty light, stumbled over, slurring. What's this? Fairy parade in God's country. Laughter from his cluster. Beer cans clinking approval. Joshua stiffened, but John stepped up, voice low thunder. Watch your mouth, Earl. These boys are family. More than you ever were to Josh. Earl puffed up, chest out. Family? Queers corrupting the bloodline? Josh'd roll in his grave. The square hushed. Fireworks popping distant warnings. Joshua released my hand, stepping forward, voice carrying like a sermon. Dad's grave? It's quiet now, Uncle Earl. No more lies eating him alive. He loved a man, John. Loved us enough to hide it, but it killed him slow. I'm done hiding. Alex and me, we're the truth he couldn't live. Gasps, murmurs swelling to waves. Linda rose, linking arms with John. Enough, Earl. Blood's thicker than beer, and ours runs true. Earl deflated, muttering retreats. But the damage sparked. A circle formed, not all hostile, young parents nodding, a teen with blue hair cheering soft. Mikey piped up, Joshua's my hero, shattering tension like glass. We didn't stay for the finale. Drove home with the radio crooning, this land is your land. Joshua's head on my shoulder. That was everything, he said. Scary as hell, but alive. In the driveway, under stars bursting like delayed fireworks, we danced barefoot on the lawn, slow, swaying to crickets and heartbeat. Romance reclaimed, emotional fires banked to embers. Yet betrayal's shadow lingered. A week later, a letter arrived, anonymous, postmarked Youngstown, knew your dad. Saw him with John. Blackmail? $5,000 or the town knows details that'll shame you all. Joshua's face ashen as he read it aloud. The words a venomous snake in our garden. Who? I demanded, pacing the kitchen, rage boiling. Doesn't matter, he said, crumpling it. It's poison. We burn it, but fear not. We told John, who cursed like a sailor, Earl's ilk. Or worse, someone from the mill days. He insisted on paying, but Joshua refused. No more payoffs. We face it. The climax crested that sweltering August night. Thunder rumbling like judgment as we waited in the Victorian's parlor. Lights low. The blackmailers demanded drop spot a shadowed bench in the town park. John staked out from his truck. Linda on speed dial. I gripped Joshua's hand, pulse sinking in the dim. Headlights pierced the rain. A battered F-150 pulling up, Earl behind the wheel, but not alone. Beside him, Emily, eyes hollow, clutching an envelope. Joshua bolted out first. Me on heels, water soaking us instant. You? He choked. Why? Emily's voice cracked over the downpour. For Dad. For the humiliation. Thought it'd make us even. Tears mixed with rain. But I can't. Here's the proof letters. Photos. Burn them. Be happy. Earl grumbled, but she silenced him with a look, fierce, finally free. They drove off into the storm, taillights fading like absolution. We burned it all in the backyard fire pit, flames devouring the past, photos curling, letters to ash. John joined, toasting marshmallows absurdly. To endings, he said. And beginnings, Joshua added, pulling me close, the ring warm against wet skin. In the afterglow, as embers glowed, we planned the wedding, not grand, but ours. Backyard vows under that oak. Whitman readings, a cake from the queer bakery in Cleveland. Invites went out inclusive, John walking Joshua, Linda toasting with tears and pride. The ceremony dawned crisp October, leaves a crimson carpet. Vows exchanged, in the body electric, I choose you. Rings slipped on, sealing it. But humanism's grace. Emily sent a card wishing light where shadows fell. No betrayal left, only growth. Years on, the house rings with life, adopted twins from the agency. John's stories by the hearth. Linda's grandkids, hers and ours, tumbling in piles. The shocking secret? It birthed a legacy of love. Unapologetic. American as apple pie with a rainbow twist. The twins' laughter echoed off the vaulted ceilings we'd added 2 years post-wedding. A renovation funded by Joshua's rising star in sustainable design, eco-logos for green startups that dotted the Rust Belt revival. Ellie and Theo, for now, chased each other around the kitchen island, their dark curls bouncing like Joshua's, green eyes sparking with my mischief. "Daddy Alex, catch!" Theo squealed, launching a Play-Doh blob that splat against my cheek, gooey blue as Lake Erie. Joshua scooped him up from behind, tickling mercilessly. Mutiny in the ranks. What say we plot revenge with pancakes? His voice, that warm baritone, still melted me, even after mornings like this, chaotic symphonies of sippy cups and crayon wars. I wiped the mess, grinning. Only if you flip them. Last time, I ended up with charred frisbees. Domestic bliss. We called it once, half joking over wine the night we signed the adoption papers. But it fit, this patchwork family stitched from Ohio clay and fierce wills. John shuffled in then, newspaper tucked under arm, thermos steaming. At 68, he moved slower, the mill years etched in his knuckles, but his eyes twinkled sharper than ever. Smells like victory or arson. Either way, pass the syrup. He'd taken to paternal grandpa duties with gusto, driving in from his apartment in Akron twice weekly, armed with bedtime tales of Nom foxholes sanitized for tots. Linda followed, bearing Tupperware of her legendary Buckeyes, peanut butter bliss dipped in chocolate. "Don't spoil 'em rotten, John," she teased, but her peck on his cheek lingered, a quiet evolution. They'd never formalized, too many scars for that, but companionship bloomed, coffee dates to farmers' markets, a shared pew at the progressive UCC church where rainbows adorned the altar. Breakfast devolved into flour-dusted chaos, the twins helping by smearing batter on counters, Joshua hoisting Ellie onto shoulders for aerial flips. Watching him, sleeveless tee clinging to sweat-glistened arms, laughter booming, I felt that initial pull anew, the romantic undercurrent that made even spilled milk poetic. But drama's not done with us. Afternoon brought the call. Joshua's firm, expansion news laced with a catch. "We're opening a satellite in Pittsburgh," his boss enthused over Bluetooth as we loaded the dishwasher. "Your lead big raise. Corner office." Joshua's sponge paused mid-scrub. "Pittsburgh? That's commute hell. Or opportunity," I said, drying a plate, mind racing. The city was queerer, vibrant, pride parades that shut down bridges, galleries showcasing local artists like the ones Joshua sketched in secret. But uprooting, the house, the center where I volunteered, John's weekly rituals, he searched my face, suds dripping. "What do you think?" I set the plate down, honest as always. Pittsburgh could be freedom, less whispers, more us. But this is home. Your call. He nodded, drying hands on a towel. "Talk it over tonight." Wine and wisdom. Evening fell soft. The twins bedded with stories of fireflies and far-off adventures, their breaths evening to snores. We retreated to the back porch, Adirondack chairs creaking under us, a Merlot bottle between. Fireflies winked like conspirators, the air sweet with honeysuckle from the trellis weed planted on our first anniversary. Joshua swirled his glass, contemplative. "Pros, better pay. Creative control. Cons. Saying goodbye to Hudson's quirks. Mom's drop-ins. The valley trails where we first. He trailed off. Hand finding mine. Thumb tracing the ring's engraving. I squeezed back. First what? Kissed under that willow? Proposed by the river? We've got memories etched here. But love travels. Babe. His sigh was autumn wind. It's not just place. Sphere of starting over. Of the twins adjusting. Of failing again. Again. The word pricked. Like Dad. He chased stability here. Lost himself. What if Pittsburgh swallows me whole? I turned. Cupping his jaw. Stubble familiar as my own skin. You're not him. We're not shadows. This is expansion. Not escape. We made love that night slow. Deliberate, bodies a dialogue of reassurance. Whispers weaving promises into the dark. Climax came soft. Emotional waves crashing to quiet tides. After which he murmured, Pittsburgh it is. With you. The move was whirlwind. Pack rats we. Culling closets of ghosts. Old journals boxed for the attic. Emily's returned necklace tucked in a drawer like a closed chapter. John's send-off barbecue mirrored that fateful 1 year back. But inverted, rainbow flags snapping from the garage. Neighbors toasting with craft sours. No shadows lurking. Here's to new grills. John raised his glass. Eyes misty. And old loves that pave the way. Linda hugged us fierce. Twins in tow. Visit often. This porch misses you already. Pittsburgh welcomed with grit and grace. A row house in Lawrenceville. Murals splashing color on brick walls. The Allegheny glittering under bridges strung with lights. Joshua's office overlooked Point State Park, where rivers converged like our lives. My remote lecturing gig flexed, supplemented by workshops at Point Park University, queer narratives in the Steel City. But conflict brewed subtle. Joshua thrived, clients raving over his inclusive campaigns, a TEDx invite brewing but isolation nipped. Missed the valley's quiet, he'd confess on Sunday drives, the twins strapped in, babbling about big river monsters. I felt it too, Hudson's intimacy traded for urban hum. John's calls our lifeline. Then, betrayals whisper. A colleague at Joshua's firm, Mark, charming graphic whiz with a Brooklyn transplant edge, leaned too close at happy hours, texts pinging Joshua's phone with emojis that lingered like smoke. I spotted it one evening, scrolling for takeout options while he showered. Miss our brainstorm last night. Drink soon? Innocent. Maybe. But the knot in my gut twisted. Old insecurities surfacing like submerged logs. Confrontation simmered that Friday. Post-team dinner. Joshua stumbled in tipsy. Tie loose. Smelling of IPAs and cologne not his. Mark's intense. He laughed. Kicking off shoes. Pitched this wild rebrand. Queer icons for a bank app. I folded laundry. Voice even. Intense how? The winky faces. He froze. Socks mid-peel. You saw that? Shit. Alex, it's nothing. Banter. Office flirt. But platonic. Platonic. The word cracked. Like our just bros phase? I know the script. Joshua. His face fell. Defensiveness flaring. That's unfair. I'm here. Every night, dinners, baths, the works. Mark's a spark, not a fire. Hurt bloomed hot. And I'm the hearth, reliable, but boring. After everything, the secrets, the wedding, the move. You flirt. He reached for me, but I stepped back. It's not that. Pittsburgh's lonely sometimes. New faces. Pressure. It's harmless escape. Escape, I echoed. The dam breaking. Like your dad with John? Or you with Emily? History's a bitch. Ha! Joshua's eyes flash storm. Low blow. I'm fighting for us, every day. But trust? It cuts both ways. We slept divided. The bed a chasm. Twins' nightlight casting accusatory glows. Morning brought regrets hangover. Joshua in the kitchen at dawn, brewing peace in a mug. I blocked him. Deleted the thread. You're my world, Alex. No escapes. I nodded, throat tight, pulling him into an embrace that smelled of forgiveness and fresh starts. Me too. Sorry for the ghosts. Therapy followed, couple sessions at a queer center in the Strip District. Unpacking the move's undercurrents. Betrayals tendrils from our pasts. Mark faded to footnote. Joshua's boundaries ironclad. Romance reignited in small flames. Surprise tickets to a Sufjan Stevens concert at Stage AE. Riverside picnic with the kids. Where we danced under string lights to Chicago. His head on my chest. This city's got heart, he said. Like us. Climax crested unexpectedly that Halloween. Pittsburgh's parade a riot of costumes. The twins as mini Whitmans with fake beards and top hats. Reciting "Oh Captain" to bemused revelers. We wove through Bloomfield's throng. John and Linda visiting. Arms linked in a zombie shuffle. Then, a face from Hudson, Earl, sloshed on pumpkin ale, flanked by cronies. Well, if it ain't the Rainbow Brigade, he slurred, blocking our path. Heard you're slumming it here. Josh'd be ashamed. Joshua tensed, but John stepped up, voice steady. Ashamed? Of love? Boy, you wouldn't know it if it bit you. Earl lunged. Clumsy swing missing wide. But chaos erupted. Costumed crowd surging. A drag queen in full regalia shoving back with glittery flair. Punches flew. Theo wailing. Until cops dispersed the melee. Zip-tying Earl with warnings. In the aftermath. Sirens wailing. Joshua held the twins close. Face pale. It's everywhere. Isn't it? The hate. I nodded, kissing his temple. But so's the fight. Look, that queen just started a chant. Love wins. The crowd echoed. A wave of acceptance crashing over us. John clapped Earl's ex-buddy on the back. Time to evolve, fellas. Or get left behind. Back home. Candy sorted and bruises iced. We debriefed by the fireplace. Fire crackling like applause. Linda tucked the kids. Emerging with Coco. Proud of you, son. Standing tall, Joshua raised his mug. To family, the chosen kind. Humanism's thread wove tighter. Earl's arrest made local news, sparking town hall talks on inclusion. Joshua spoke at one. Voice amplified. Hates the real ghost. Let's bury it. Winter blanketed Pittsburgh in snow. Our row house a haven of lights and lacks. Blended holidays now. John's Harley garaged for sleigh rides. Betrayal's scar? Faded to lessen. Trust rebuilt brick by brick. One eve, as flurries danced outside, Joshua pulled me to the roof deck. Blankets piled high. Remember the attic? He asked, breath fogging. Where we chose. I nodded, burrowing close. Every word. He pressed a small box into my palm. Not ring, but key. To the new office. Co-designed. Your lit nook. My drafting table. Forever home. Tears froze on lashes. but joy thawed them. In America's shifting landscapes, from Ohio fields to river bends, we'd forged not just survival, but symphony. Snowmelt ushered spring's tentative thaw. Pittsburgh streets puddling with promise as Joshua's firm ballooned. Now a full agency. Heartland Inc., branding for social justice orgs from Baltimore to Buffalo. His keynote at AIGA's Midwest Conference went viral. A TED-style riff on designing out of the closet, clips shared by GLAAD, drawing scouts from NYC firms. Headhunters calling, he said over dinner one night, salmon flaking under forks, twins finger-painting with peas. 6 figures. Creative director gig. I paused. Wineglass midway. Manhattan? That's big leagues. His eyes danced, but caution tempered. Yeah. But uproot again? The kids just settled Theo's preschool, Ellie's ballet. And your workshops are killer here. The pull was gravitational. New York, queer mecca with Stonewall ghosts and Chelsea galleries, versus our hard-won nest. I tasted the city's pulse once. A college summer subletting in Brooklyn. Interning at a lit mag. Nights blurring in dive bars with poets who quoted Auden over absinthe. But Joshua, his roots ran deep in Midwest soil. Visit first, I suggested, practical as ever. Feel the vibe. We did. A whirlwind weekend. The agency whining us at Lou Bernardine. Tours of lofts in the village with skyline views that stole breath. The twins adored Central Park Zoo, shrieking at seals, while John and Linda babysat back home, texting selfies of cookie-baking mayhem. It's electric, Joshua confessed in our suite at the Standard, city lights pulsing below like a heartbeat. But loud. Like the world's demanding I perform. I traced his spine, sheets cool against skin. You already do. For us, for them. Our lovemaking was urgent that night. City energy channeling into touches that mapped desire's contours. Climax a release of pent-up what-ifs. Back in Pittsburgh, decision loomed like thunderheads. Joshua paced the office nook we'd built, sketches of logos curling under his boots. Pros, prestige, network. Cons, the grind 80-hour weeks, faceless crowds. Miss our porch talks. I leaned in the doorway, coffee steaming. And me, the adjunct life suits. But NYC's got tenures calling. He stopped, pulling me flush. You'd follow? Anywhere. Large. Containing multitudes. I murmured. Whitman our shorthand. But only if it's us. The offer letter arrived glossy. With perks. Relocation. Family tuition at Dalton. Temptation gnawed. Then, conflicts blade. A call from Hudson John. Voice gravel rough. Bad fall. Doc says hips shattered. Could use you boys close. Guilt crashed. John, our anchor, stoic through his own storms, now felled by a slick garage floor. We flew back immediate. Pittsburgh to Cleveland, a blur of turbulence. Hospital smelled of antiseptic and regret. John pale in the bed, for dripping slow. Look like hell, he joked weakly, gripping Joshua's hand. But don't fuss. Just a bump. Linda hovered, eyes red-rimmed. Stubborn fool wouldn't use the ramp I installed. We stayed a week. Tag-teaming care. Me reading aloud from a dog-eared Leaves of Grass. Joshua fiddling with John's ancient radio to tune in Pirates games. The twins healed him with crayon cards. Theo declaring, Grandpa's a superhero now. In quiet moments, John pulled us aside. Don't rearrange for me. Life's short, chase the fire. Joshua's jaw set. Fire's family. John. You're it. Decision crystallized. Pittsburgh stays home. Joshua emailed regrets to NYC, framing it as right now's right path. The agency countered with remote flex, a promotion in place. Relief washed, but betrayal specter loomed. Self-doubt whispering Joshua settled, resented the tether. It erupted one sticky June eve, post-twin bedtime. I'd led a panel at the Warhol on queer lit in pop art. Home late to find Joshua hunched over his Mac. Deadline glare etching lines. Out schmoozing while I wrangle chaos? He snapped, not looking up. I bristled, dropping keys. Schmoozing? This work. Joshua. Building something. Like you. He slammed the lid. Work or escape? Ever since the move, you're half gone. Lectures. Centers. That cute TA with the tattoos eyeing you at mixers. Jealousy. Raw and reversed. Mark 2.0? That's rich. I'm here. Every night. Diapers. Dinners. The damn dishes. Are you? He shot back, voice rising. Or just physically. I see the wanderlust in your eyes. Alex. NYC would have lit you up. Instead, you're stuck in suburbia purgatory because of me. The accusation stung. Truth's barb. Stuck? This is choice. The kids. John, it's not chains. It's roots. He deflated, sinking to the rug. Then why does it feel like I'm holding you back? Like Dad held John. Love as cage. I knelt, framing his face. No cage. Cathedral. We built this messy, magnificent. Tears tracked his cheeks. Mine joined. Emotional reckoning. Words pouring. My fears of inadequacy. His of abandonment. We cried it out, then rose, sealing with kisses that tasted of salt and renewal. Romance's phoenix, rising from ashes of doubt. Summer deepened, healing in layers. John's rehab progressed. Walks with us in Frick Park. Cane tapping rhythm like Morse code encouragement. You boys glow, he noted one dusk. Benches creaking under our weight. Like Josh and me. Young before the world weighed in. Joshua squeezed his hand. Won't let it weigh us down. Betrayal's echo faded further with a gift. Emily, of all souls, emailing coordinates to a gallery show in Cleveland, her photography, themes of fracture and mend. If you're near, she wrote. No strings. We went, twins in tow. The space a converted warehouse humming with vernissage chatter. Emily's prints hung stark. Shattered glass mended with gold. Kintsugi soles. Highlights of rust. Veins of light. One caught us. A blurred couple in rain. Backs turned but hands linked. Titled after the storm. It's beautiful, Joshua said when she approached. Hesitant. She nodded, smile tentative. Pains the crack where light gets in. Took me time, no hugs, but handshakes warm. As we left, she slipped him a print. For your wall. Proof we survive. We hung it in the office. Gold fissures glinting under task lights, a talisman against fractures. Climax brewed Labor Day. A block party in Lawrenceville turning title. Bonfires crackled. Food trucks wafting smoke signals of ribs and ramen fusion. The twins darted through legs in superhero capes. John grilling with neighborhood dads, queer and straight mingling easy. Then, intrusion. A film crew. Indie documentarians scouting Rust Belt Renaissance. Queer voices. They'd heard Joshua's keynote. pitched a segment on our story from Hudson Barbecue Bombshell to Pittsburgh Pioneers. Camera shy? The director asked. Mic poised. Joshua glanced at me, twins orbiting like moons. Nah. Lights. Camera, truth. The shoot unfolded raw. Interviews in our kitchen. Joshua recounting the kiss. The letters. The wedding. Me on Lit's power to liberate. John Gruff on redemption's grit. Climax in the living room. All of us circled, Linda too. Via video when the director probed betrayal. Emily's family, Joshua said. Voice steady. The blackmail note. Felt like the past clawing back. Cut to B-roll. The burned envelope's ash. Now symbolic in a jar on the mantel. But fire purifies, he added. We rose. The crew wrapped elated, promising edits by fall. That night, bonfire embers dying, Joshua pulled me aside. Proud or freaked? I kissed him fierce. Both. But mostly alive. Fall painted the city gold. Leaves crunching underfoot as we volunteered at the center. Joshua mentoring young designers. Me facilitating coming out circles. One session. A teen named Riley, 17. Wide-eyed from Butler. Shared trembling. My uncle outed me at a picnic. Family barbecue gone nuclear. Joshua's hand found mine under the table. Echo of our origin. It hurts, he said. But you're not alone. We weren't. Riley's smile broke dawn-like. Humanism incarnate, stories as salve. Winter's hush brought John's milestone. Hip healed. He rode the Harley again. Us trailing in the truck to a rally in D.C. For marriage equality expansions. Signs waved. Chants rose. The twins, bundled, waved mini flags. On the mall, John gripped the rail of his trike. Worth every scar. Back home. Snow blanketing. Betrayal's last whisper. A package, anonymous again, but benign. Inside, a scrapbook from Linda. Photos spanning decades. Big Josh and John Young. Joshua's birth. Our wedding. Twins' first steps. Tucked in, a note. For the archives. Love heals all. Joshua leafed it. Tears silent. Full circle. We framed the cover photo, all of us now. Porch grouped, hung above the hearth. Romance's quiet crescendo. Anniversaries marked with letters. Read aloud, Whitman. Baldwin. Our own vows renewed. One Valentine's. Candles guttering. He led me to the attic Pittsburgh edition. A loft conversion for storage and stars. Remember? He asked. Blanket spread. Wine poured. Every beginning, I replied, pulling him down. Bodies entwined. Emotional depth in every sigh. Climax a symphony of shared breath. In America's vast, varied heart, from secrets spilled to families forged, we thrived, not despite the drama, but through it. The shocking revelation, catalyst to a life luminous. The loft skylight framed constellations like a promise as Joshua and I lay spent, breaths sinking in post-coital hush. The city's distant hum a lullaby. 5 years married, and still, his touch ignited, fingers tracing lazy eights on my chest, a Morse code of contentment. Think the twins heard us? He murmured. Grin sly. I chuckled, nuzzling his neck. If they did. Theo'll ask for an encore at breakfast. Springboard from that night. We planned a legacy project. A community center annex in Pittsburgh. Electric Bodies Hub named for Whitman. Funded by Joshua's agency grants and my lit endowments. Groundbreaking dawned crisp April. Shovels biting earth near the war hall. Crowd gathered. John in his leather vest. Kane swapped for a hard hat. Linda with Mikey, now a lanky teen sketching blueprints. Even Emily, invited via open call, her camera clicking candidly. Symbolic, Joshua said, dirt-caked under nails, pulling me for a quick kiss amid cheers. From shadows to structure, the hub bloomed that summer, workshops on design and desire, poetry slams under string lights, support groups for elders like John sharing Nam-era silences. One evening, as dusk painted the Allegheny violet, a panel on family secrets drew a full house. Joshua moderated, voice resonant. Mine started at a barbecue, Uncle's whisper shattering illusions. Yours. Stories poured. A mom's hidden affair, a sibling's unspoken queerness, a father's mill whispers of love lost. I spoke last. On betrayal's gift, it forces choice, hide or heal. Applause thundered, but the real climax, a man in back, 60s, salt hair approaching post-talk. That uncle might be me. Wait, Alex, not John. Another John, wait. No, the name clicked. Cousin to Big Josh, he said, hand extended. Heard echoes. Came to see. Revelations ripple. He'd known of the affair, held his own silence for family peace. Regret it now, he confessed over coffee later. Should have spoken sooner. Joshua hugged him fierce. You're here. That's soon enough. Autumn brought harvest. Hub's first gala. Black tie under tents. Proceeds to youth scholarships. The twins, 6 now, in tiny bow ties, circulated trays like pros, Ellie declaring, I'm a activist, Theo nodding sage. John slow danced with Linda to a cover of Dancing Queen, their laughter a melody long deferred. But conflict's undercurrent stirred. Joshua's agency eyed national expansion, whispers of board seats in Chicago. Tempting, he admitted one harvest moon, raking leaves in the yard, twins piling them into forts. But the hub, it's our baby. I forked mulch. Honest. Go if it calls. We've got wings now, strong ones. He paused. Rake still. And if it frays us, distance. Demands. Then we weave tighter. Romance's vow. Renewed in leaf mulch scent. The call came mid-rake. Accept or pass. Joshua chose pass. Citing local roots. Global reach. Agency grumbled, but adapted satellite in Cleveland. Him consulting remote. Relief, but my own crossroads loomed. A full professorship at Pitt. Tenure track gleaming. Congrats, Joshua toasted that night. Champagne fizzing. My lit star, but doubt nipped. More hours. Conferences, less home time. He pulled me to the swing. Porch creaking. We've balanced worse. Trust the net. Betrayal's ghost flickered faint then. A student email. Forward of an op-ed. Queer academia. Tokenism or triumph? Critiquing out profs like me as performative. Stung. I shared over dinner. Voice tight. Joshua set fork down. Bullshit. You're authentic. Changed my life with one class. Still, I said, feels like I'm the poster boy, not the poet. He rose, rounding table. Then write it out. Your truth, unfiltered, prompted. I did, a memoir chapbook, barbecue confessions, vignettes from our odyssey. The kiss, the crash, the ring. Joshua illustrated line drawings evoking wood smoke and rain. Self-published. Sold at the Hub. Readers nodding in recognition. Climax unfolded launch night. Hub packed to rafters. Wine flowing. Jazz trio humming low. I read the hook. The sizzle drowned laughter until a hand yanked me to secrets. Voices hushed. Then erupted, ovation crashing like waves. Q&A turned title. A young dad. Teary. Your story? Gave me courage to come out to my boy. Then, shock. Emily on stage. Mic in hand. Bought the book blind. Hit home. My own barbecue horrors. She paused. Eyes locking ours. Forgive the poison? I have. Joshua enveloped her in hug. Crowd ing. Forgiven long ago. Thank you. Gala spilled to afterparty. Stories swapping like cards. John cornered me by the bar. Your words. Kid. They're the bridge Josh couldn't build. Linda added. Arm through his. To all the loves we almost lost. Winter wove coziness. Hub holiday fair. Twins in elf ears hawking chapbooks. Snow blanketing the city in hush. One eve. Storm raging. Power out. We gathered by candlelight. Family extended. Board games flickering shadows. Theo piped. Tell the secret story. Daddy. Joshua obliged. Embellishing for giggles. And then the uncle said, Abracadabra. Joshua's a wizard of love. Laughter pealed. But truth underpinned. The shocking secret evolved to saga of survival. Spring cycled anew. Hub's second year bursting. Internships for Rust Belt youth. A playwright residency birthing Heartland hearts. Joshua's designs graced billboards. Love contains multitudes. Billboards along I-76. Romance deepened in margins. Anniversary getaway to the valley. Tent pitched where it began. Stars witnesses to vows whispered. Large, he breathed. Bodies joining. And yours. Betrayal? Distant memory. Transmuted to strength. Emily's exhibit touring. Featuring our print. Even Earl. Reformed in NA. Sending a card. Learning late. But learning. Humanism's capstone. John's 80th. A bash at the Hub. Tributes poured. Letters from old mill pals. Grandkids' videos. Heroes. Voice quaver. Lived in shadows once. Now, bathed in light. Thanks to you. Joshua and I flanked him. Twins hoisting cake. To uncles and secrets, Joshua toasted. And the truths they birth, I added. Years blurred to decades. Twins off to colleges. Ellie to NYU theater. Theo to RISD design. The house echoed emptier, but fuller with visits. John's chair by the fire a throne. Joshua retired first. Gallery shows of his work. I followed. Adjuncting part-time. Memoirs stacking shelves. Grandkids tumbled in. Dark curls and green eyes. Reciting Whitman at knees. One final autumn. Leaves aflame. John passed quiet in his sleep. Harley keys on the nightstand. Funeral packed the UCC. Eulogies weaving his thread. Lover. Father figure. Fighter. At graveside, Joshua placed a letter Big Josh's, creased from readings. Reunited, he said, arm around me. We walked away linked. The shocking secrets arc complete, from barbecue blade to legacy light. In America's grand, flawed tapestry, our story wove humanistic gold. Love, not despite betrayal, but deepened by it. Dramatic, yes. Emotional, to the core. Romantic, eternally. And profoundly unapologetically ours.